Okay, this is an example of a source book, the medieval source book at Fordham University. This is not published to my knowledge because it's so huge. This is one way to publish a source book. And you'll notice they don't have a plate. They could have published a picture or posted a picture of the original in the original language, but they just posted the text of the citation, so people like us who prefer to read English can read it in English. And the writer tells us the significance. Justin suppresses the Nika revolt in 532. So if you were a scholar, you were looking online and you said source for Justinian Nika revolt, this would pop up. And so this is the source here. I'll just highlight it for you. All the way down, it's not too long. Come on. Okay, that's the source. So this is from the original source in Justinian, and they tell you from History of the Wars. That's the book by Justinian, and the volume 1 or book 1, depending. And then here's the bibliographic information right underneath it, so you don't need to go anywhere else to find the where it came from, the source. And then below that, it tells you that you're looking at it as part of the medieval sourcebook. So you'd have the title of your website here if you were to do it like this. So that's one way to do it. Now, this entire Fordham University website is not cited the same way, but this is one of the popular ways to do a sourcebook. And we'll see that throughout our examples. Okay, we just got through looking at example 1, which is the Fordham University. This is another one I like, the complete Pythagoras. It's all the Pythagorean writings combined into one volume. Now this was published a few times by Kenneth Guthrie, and you'll see these are the sources in order. This is from Iamblichus, and you see this is just his entire book that they posted. And then the source from Porphyry, Photius, and then Diogenes Laertius. And they posted all of Diogenes, everything that he wrote about Pythagoras, and then volume 2, yada yada. So you click on it. You have, first they give you a brief biography, and they just posted it from, I call him DL, Diogenes Laertius. And they say immediately from Cagnet, who's a French, looks like a French translator. And then you have down below that the section, and then they have the citation directly underneath it. This is from Stobaeus and the translation. So they're not really telling you, he's not really telling you all that much because he has a pretty long introduction to this book. But that's how they do it. You know, you have, instead of earlier, in the first section I showed you, the translation came first and then the citation, and here it's just a little different, but the same theme remains. You have the translated text, not the original, not an image, but the translated, just the translated text, because publishers are greedy and they only care about money, and most of us only care about money too. And that's why, you know, you don't want to spend $150 on a book when you can spend $12 on a book that just has the translation. So this is why I'm encouraging you to put I call it the address or the citation. This is all the bibliographic citation that's needed for an ancient work. You know, it's Stobaeus ec phys. I don't even know what this is, you know, the Latin term, but I could find it very easily. And then, you know, the volume and the section. So as a scholar, I can tell that's all the information I need. But if you're citing a modern source, you need to cite, you know, the full citation. And we'll see that in a minute. Okay, this is a different type. This one is in Google Books. I used Epigraphica a lot in my research. Sorry, I'm shaking. My children have taken over my office, so I have to sit in my easy chair most of the time. Okay, we're just going to look at the, whoop, I guess not. I was going to try and look at the um, preview in Amazon, but there's not one. Okay, hang on a second. Okay, this is another source book. This is in the original language, and you'll see that, like I encourage you to do, you have your chapters, and that's great. It would be great if you named them in a section, according to the grouping. He grouped it into Boeotians in the outside world, and then dedications, religious and civic dedications, and then they list them in order. The plates are in order, and they match. So just like you, he has some bibliographic information here, but it matches. They're both in order, in the same order. List of plates, which is essentially your thing. You have bibliography. This is his abbreviation, so you don't need that. Preface. He tells us the significance of all this stuff. Not very long. Explanatory notes. Not very long either. Okay, this is a second introduction. It's going through. Get to the text. So there's quite a bit of explanation. Okay, here's the first one. Now you'll notice he doesn't have the plate. He just has the text. He has a little bit of introduction to the text. I would encourage you just one or two sentences if you do it. And then this is the text, and right here is a bibliography. And he can list it like this because SEG should be in his up here in his abbreviations. Sorry, didn't go up high enough. Okay, we said SEG, Supplementum Epigraphicum Graecium. Now, because he lists that, he doesn't have to give the full citation. This is a very common, well, the reason for that is because it's a very common resource for scholars to use. So, but sometimes it's abbreviated differently, so he has to put that abbreviation in. But you'll see he lists the full bibliographic information up here. That's because he uses it a lot. So you see the same theme again with scrolling down again to the text here. Okay, you have the text. This is his bibliographic information and the text right near each other, and then his very long explanations. And the epigraphica that I used was from Pleckett, and it was a lot different. Let me just show you it. I don't know if I can. Thank God for AT&T. Okay, it's not going to let me show you, but in the Epigraphica by Pleckett, it just had the Greek text and then just like the bibliography, which is closest to what you're going to be doing. Okay, here's another source book that I've used, which is very close to what you're doing. Okay, so you see number 80, provisions for female children, and it's in sequential order. You have a lot of, okay, so this has subtitles. Okay, this is Aristotle's will. Okay, number 79, Aristotle's will, and this is not the Aristotle. Actually, yeah, it is. Okay, Aristotle's will in Athens, 4th century BC. So it tells us what it is and when. And then this is the bibliographic information in Diogenes Laertius. And you could pick up Diogenes Laertius, go to book 5, and this is where it would be. And she tells us he's in the 3rd century AD. So she's telling us it was 600 years between the source writer and the original person that wrote the will. So what they did was um, they have in the smaller text they have some explanation and more explanation here, and then this is the text. It's translated, and they're doing this because they have this subtitle tells us what we're looking at, and then this is the text, and then another subtitle and text, and there's probably more text in between here from Diogenes Laertius, but we'd have to look it up. But you'll see that this is how they're doing it. A little bit of explanation here. The dowry system ensured that daughters, blah, 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 and then little subtitle, and this is the text for provisions for female children, Athens, 4th century BC, from Demosthenes, and this is his against Macrotatus, and that's 5154G. It's probably the translator. So that's how they're doing it. And you notice you have the number of the plate or the number of the item, the bibliographic information, the author, and a brief explanation, and then the text, which is the sort of the pattern that I'm encouraging you to do. This is a different kind of text. I didn't want to just do my research. Feminist Writings from Ancient Times to the Modern World. This is a book I've not read, but I'm going to go down here. You see they list of entries in chronological order, which is something you're interested in doing. They don't list the full bibliographic stuff, just the description, and it's in order, not only chronological order, but in numerical order here, sequential on the side. And I'm just going to scroll down to a random example. Okay, this is number 69, Libertad, 1852. So this is some bibliographic information we could find it. Carolina Coronado is the author of this Libertad in 1852. So this here is an explanation of what it is. It's a poem, Libertad, and you see it's kind of a long explanation, but then they tell you this is the document. You notice it's not a plate, it's not a picture, it's text, and then they tell you the source immediately afterwards. So you can see a very definite pattern is emerging where you have the sequential numbering that matches the plates and the bibliographic information in two places with the item and in the table of contents or in a list at the beginning. So there's a little bit of redundancy, and the reason for that is the people picking up your book are going to be looking at different things. Everybody's going to be looking at this, which is why you need your bibliography here. But some people are going to want to look at your list of plates at the beginning and get a feel for what they're looking at. That's why they're listed at both places. And this, in my opinion, is more important. Listing it with the plate. Okay, I'm going to show you a sample, one with no numbering in it. It's a very popular book, and you'll see it's a different way to number it, but they still group them together. Origin and growth of the game, spectacle and Roman politics, imperial spectacle, and then you have the politics of the arena, the venue, day of the games. It's not just chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, but they're actually grouped together. And you have the list of illustrations. Okay, let's see here. You have games in the Roman state, so you have an explanation from the author, and then a little source here from Cicero against Verres 2:536. So that's the bibliographic information for the source, and then the translation. And again from Livy. And then he puts no, it's still down. It's still that's the way he does it. He sets us very clearly sets aside the sources. It looks like that's how he's done. He has, he has the source, bibliographic information, quote, and then explanation. So it's just a different way to do it. I don't think that's going to work for you. And you notice none of these have images like yours, like just loaded with images. Okay, let's take a look. This is the way it goes, just like one image, and you got a couple of them, but this is sort of like what the book is about. And he's telling you, everything down here is what it, I don't think this is useful to you either. Sorry about that, buddy. But anyway, I think I've made my point that with most source books, the structure is a little bit different from what you have. And if you structure it accordingly, the people who are interested in source books and used to seeing source books, like me, will immediately know the value of your book and want to buy it. So anyway, hope that I drove that point home, and let me know if you have questions.